desk, it may punish them in the end.
Absolutely. I mean, Raz called it 2-0. Rosie said that there might be an opportunity where Legacy disrespect their opponents or just get greedy for something more than they should have. And that's something that Legacy have actually been prone towards doing. So moving into this first game, would not be surprised to see a standard draft. That's more playstyle.
Exactly right. Hopefully no ribbons propping up here or there, but as we go through, notching off the bands here, Vladimir, Karma, for Sin Gaming, and of course on the side of Legacy, Rek'Sai, Twisted Fate, and finally that Azir for Sin Gaming.
So one of the cooler things that Sin have actually done is not just refine their 1-3-1 strategy, it's the same strategy they've always wanted to implement and they have succeeded with. They've actually now started to draft themselves further and further towards it. All 3 bans that Legacy have put down are specifically for that team composition to prevent them from having any of it. The only remaining options are about the Karma, Bard, and Ashe.
Yeah, with that, basically 3 global ultis here, it is a little bit difficult to pull off, but of course, when you focus that heavily on certain styles, some champions do fall through the cracks, and one of them is going to be that Rune Mage Rise being picked up for Squiggle.
Yeah, so Rise looked at. Remember, you would assume it's Rymeister's, but Choo-Choo's and Rymeister both have a Cassiopeia up their sleeve. I would say the Cass does okay in their matchup.
Both machine gun mages in their own right, especially with Cassiopeia. Not having to have the target poisoned for that E reset. Just buffs the damage now.
And without having to rush tier as well.
That's a great point.
Probably would, but nonetheless, we'd expect exactly that from Legacy.
This is looking similar already, getting themselves that Jax and the Jhin. Saw it in the hands of Avant last game, playing it to perfection. Let's see if Legacy can follow suit.
So the Rek'Sai being gone is actually, whilst a good ban from Sin, actually a deterrent to Legacy. They looked most successful when Carbon was on the Rek'Sai. And when he played Elise in their second game against the Chiefs, he actually looked like Rek'Sai. But he was dying because he wasn't Rek'Sai. So again, Carbon, we'll see if he's learnt in his week off. Even in their victory, there are still things to be learnt.
See what Sin go here. They do have the potential to take that Elise away, maybe force Carbon onto something he's not as proficient at, but the Nidalee actually being locked in here for Jubes and their Nautilus. So I haven't seen a Nidalee and a Nautilus in quite some time, but Sin got a plan, it seems.
Yeah. And the Nautilus is the lesser Maokai, so it's kind of funny to see him picked at all, not seeing the Maokai.
Sure.
I prefer Nautilus into a lot of what these damage-dealing top laners actually offer. You've got ranged knock-up. You're safer because you have the overshield, so effective health increases, where the Maokai is more about sustain. But to sustain, you need to auto-attack. And to do that as a Maokai, you're then next to the person who's trying to kill you.
That's a great point, showing the differences between 2 of these hyper tanks. And Tally, he's quite the carry when it comes to this game of League of Legends. So putting Jax in his hands tonight could prove to be disastrous. We saw what Paradise did on it in game number 2, ending the series godlike, 12-2.
Yeah, well, Tally also shares that same vein of strength where he's one of the big carries of his team.
Yeah, it looks like we will be seeing the Graves for Carbon and the Soraka for Kuden being locked in here. So Kuden, one of the best Soraka players on the server without a doubt.
Yeah, so they lock in a bottom lane that's very hard to kill. Firstly, from that silence field and all the traps you can place around for slows. It's a utility-heavy mid-game focused team composition, honestly, from Legacy. They've got Tally to scale it through to late game, however. And without rounding it out, we haven't seen what Choo-Choo's wants to play. They could go any direction as long as he has wave clear. I would say that they look good.
A few things here for Sin as well to pick up. Looking at that Sivir, Karma still available if they want to go for that ultimate move quick team composition. Helps Rise, helps Nautilus to get in on the fight, but when you're Rogue, it's hard to look past the Thresh.
It is, yeah. They even gave him a new skin. Rogue got a direct buff.
Let's hope he picks it.
I mean, Ashe picked with it, something that we've seen Sin play to a great degree of success.
Sure.
It aided towards that global-esque comp that they always had. This time around, though, Sin, with that 5-man strong, looks much more pick-focused, maybe siege-heavy. They want to get Ashe arrows off, Thresh hooks to follow it. It's the double hook composition. And so it's all about finding you with better vision.
And of course, Choo-Choo's going to be forced to take that cleanse, so he will be down to teleport unless Rymeister does switch it up later on in the draft. But now, waiting to see what Chooz eventually goes for here. He's going to be up against Rise. He's known it for quite some time. hovering that Swain for a little bit longer than the rosters we saw just before.
Yeah, the initial hover was also the Swain, so all signs point towards this as the mid lane of choice into the Rise. There you go.
Change the teleport, but we won't know for sure until, of course, 20 seconds. But the Soraka, the Swain, the Jhin, the Jax, and of course the massive armor and MR that Graves gets. This is a very hard composition to take down that Legacy have drafted.
Yeah, exactly. They've got damage everywhere, so they'll be able to outtrade you in most 1v1s. The Rise is going to be very important for Sin moving into this game. It does feel like they're trying to set Rymeister up the best they possibly can to succeed. But Legacy, they've got the composition to beat everybody individually and then work around that strength moving forward. I think once you hit that mid-game, Legacy's team composition definitely comes into its own. Sin, on the other hand, they've got the Rise that wants to scale, but they can compensate for that with the Nautilus, Nidalee, and Ashe.
A lot of survivability on this Legacy squad, so it's going to be really hard if Sin, they get the pick. Can they finish it off? Because if Soraka's standing nearby and they spend all their resources onto one guy, it's going to be very difficult to win the forthcoming team fight.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb against a Jhin and a Soraka in any team composition is that if you don't kill one of them, they're probably going to win the rest of that team fight. It's a matter of running at the Jhin. If you get the Nautilus hook onto him or you get the Nautilus ultimate, lock him down, fantastic. If you don't, run away.
Alrighty, guys. If you want to see an upset hashtag Sin win, or if you want to see Legacy hold on to that OPL Legends title and the beautiful belt that comes with it, hashtag LGC win. Show your love for these guys on Twitter. Show them your support.
Yeah, and I mean, Sin, they had a fantastic Super Week.
They did.
Last split around, it seems to be they get a buff during this time. Same thing can be said about Chiefs, unfortunately going the opposite direction.
Ooh.
But Legacy on the back of a victory over those Chiefs means that they're set up the best possible way in this first game.
Alrighty, guys. Here we are into game number one, match number 2. Sin Gaming taking on Legacy for that OPL Legends title. Of course, Legacy coming fresh off a win against the Chiefs. Going to be feeling very, very good about how their practice has been going, I'm sure.
Yeah, 5th takes on 2nd. And it feels like ultimately a mismatch in that respect. But Sin, ever improving. Always looking better with each coming week. This is a big test for them, though, and the first of many to come, with their following weeks being Avant-Garde, Chiefs, and then Tainted Minds to round them out for a split. That's not an easy run home. In fact, this is the start of their gauntlet, and you want to kick this off the best way.
They've got a decent team composition in terms of what they can achieve if it all goes according to plan. Can they get the picks? Do they have enough damage to back it up? They do have the execute from the Nidalee. And Rise on stationary targets just able to output some of the most highest number of damages in the game, arguably, of course. But who do they go for here? Tally can just chuck up the counter-strike. Graves, one quick draw, and he's all of a sudden got a bunch of armor. Choo-Choo's in the bird form, just going to be difficult.
Well, it just comes down to who gets hooked.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they have escapes or maybe ways to deal with the damage that comes out, but if a Thresh hook connects or a Nautilus hook connects, there's always going to be the second one. King's decided that he really doesn't want them in the jungle. There you go.
Interesting. Actually has that Thunderlords on the Jhin by the look of it.
Back at it.
Yeah, they don't want to give up this.
You're being cheeky.
He's got that 4th shot, looking for it onto Squiggle. A lot of damage coming down. Dancing Grenade actually hitting 2 minions as well along the wave.
Yeah, so they completely push them away. And the reason that that is good for Legacy is because of the advantage that Carbon gets with Tally in the jungle in comparison to the Nidalee and Nautilus of Squiggle and Juves. That does mean that 6-0 is the CS of the AD carries, and they're going to lose a lot of lane swap tempo for the turrets being taken. But Rogue's doing something a little bit different himself.
Rymeister unfortunately can't find the Rune Prison. Rogue only had the Flay as well at level 1, so didn't have the CC available to lock him down for any extended period of time. So that seems to be a new trend coming out of our teams. Just going in for that early invade, then poor Rogue, he just wastes a lot of time walking around.
Well, I mean, it is standard Sin that someone's going to come mid around the level 2 point.
Yeah.
No shocking revelations to see that whatsoever, but Sin now looking to at least get the 2 buffs themselves respectively.
Good to see. Carbon will be a little bit ahead, having finished that blue buff off the time that Juves has started it. And Legacy already on that top lane tower, as they did have their support helping them push the wave. Rogue took a brief detour mid.
You would expect that the minions crashing the top lane for Legacy should be less than that of Sin, though, due to Raps being able to establish the wave. He's 12 CS ahead. But they seem to be perfectly fine with this outcome, honestly. His Legacy. There's still plenty of minions there. There's enough for Tally to be able to take this down. If he keeps whacking away at it with the trophy. Maybe. He might not get it.
He might not. The minions doing a great job on the side of Sin to take down.
He's actually just not going to get it. There's too many minions.
Must be frustrating to deal with on the side of Sin. Their new wave actually just started crashing in. They should be getting this no trouble. Rhymeister in a little bit of hurt here as Carbon lays down some damage. Juves making his way over. The flash Rune Prison comes in. A beautifully timed flash from Carbon avoids the spear.
Yeah, so Flash Rune Prison, we still ended up trading jungle for mid lane flashes. Ultimately not the best trade for Juves. Oh, sorry, for Rhymeister. Because that means that Carbon can come back and a never move if it hits will be a lot of damage on top of a Rise that has a tier. Not really survivability to be seen on the side of Sin's middle lane. The real question at this point is, can Tally actually get this turret, or is it too late? I think he will still get it.
Yeah, shouldn't have too much trouble finishing off that one. Still wants to make sure to break the freeze, get the tower. All in a day's work for Tally on Jax.
This was cutting it close.
No, he was working overtime for this one.
Honestly, is well done by to actually even get it in a situation where he was stopped and the rest of his team did not help him to secure it. The big CS discrepancy actually develops through top laners because of this, however. And it's kind of cool that what was ultimately a mistake from Legacy now becomes a blessing.
Yeah. Ends up helping him quite a bit as he teleports down for this bot lane tower, and things are back to standard. So yeah, very cute coming out. Tally getting himself a nice bit of CS. King just tanking up the minions here. Does have Kuden to keep him healthy, so in no real danger to dying, of course.
One of the better ways to build up a giant freeze if you keep any of them alive and bounce the wave back so that you have a freeze to actually pick up once it crashes. We'll see how Tally plays this one out. I'm sure he'll just do the standard. Let some minions die.
We'll see if he can actually get the tower this time, but Legacy, they've got their sights set onto this Infernal Dragon. 6 minutes in the game. Should be completely uncontested. Of course, they know 3 members of Sin are on that top side, taking down the top outer.
And again, one of the better reasons to lane swap in a game of League of Legends is when an Infernal Drake is seen. Not many teams will actually expend effort towards getting the Drake on the first turret take. It's usually the second when you swap back, because you're far safer in actually getting it down. That is what we see. And that's why Legacy now find themselves in a decent position. Of course, not through that 80 carry roll.
Rhymeister looks like he wants to fight, but remember, Choose, he can just pop the ulti and sustain his way through. Rogue making his way over. Looks like it will just be a trade, but it's always going to favor Choose as he's got that health, that lifesteal from his ulti.
Yes and no. So it does favor Choose. Of course, he has the catalyst, so level ups. The fact that he expends mana and gets health back. You can't complain. Your Legacy's mid laner, but Rhymeister can still continue to hit him and force these trades to be perpetually even, if not favoring him, because Rise does still have a fair bit of sustain.
That's exactly right. Just look at that. Pops the ulti back to full health and forcing Choose to recall, actually. With no teleport available, he's going to have to walk his way back to lane with only a pink ward and a potion for his troubles.
Yeah, does get that vision though. Of course, being the mid laner of Legacy against Sin, you should definitely be understanding the concept that they want you dead because they want Rhymeister ahead. This is still very unusual from Sin. I'm going to call it standard for most League of Legends teams.
Sure.
But they haven't put all of their efforts towards actually having any kind of 1-3-1 scenario where they would actually succeed. I feel like Rhymeister may be the one to deal with Tally, would be the ultimate outcome of this.
Looks like things are starting to settle. Everyone going back to their respective lanes, of course. Tally, though, coming out at a very favorable CS. 35 right now to 11 of Squiggle. So like you mentioned earlier, what looked to be a little bit of a misplay actually ended up benefiting him quite greatly.
Well, yeah, and there's a big stack of minions now coming towards him, so he can keep it where it is. And this, until further notice, is good for Legacy. The thing that you have to remember is that whilst you're here, you don't have teleport, you can't get in and help the rest of your team. Sin should make a play right now.
Oh, looks like it will be Legacy, actually, who want to make the play going in onto Rhymeister. Carbon forces the ulti. Now Choose in a lot of trouble. Does have flash available. Rap's only level 5. So no ulti just yet to keep him in place.
And in terms of timing, that was not the right one to make any kind of play. They can stop Choose recall here, perhaps with a frost shot. There you go. Then they can actually look towards sieging this turret.
Yeah, Rhymeister does a good job of timing his shield well with the harass. Forcing Carbon to make his way down. The crystal arrow goes wide. The hook also uncharacteristic from Rogue, but now Carbon actually caught. Look at how low he got. Luckily, they have the Soraka there to top him back up.
And the real issue here is that nobody actually died from Legacy. So Sin, they're making good movements. They're still getting Squiggle some farm on that top side. Everything's basically at even. But there's still that push from the bottom.
Oh no, Rogue, he's being caught. Goes for the hook. Choose actually is here. They've gone in onto Choose. Doesn't have the flash available. Might be dead here. Kuden, he's low on mana. One more attack should do it. A nice flash from Rhymeister. Secures that one. 2 kills going over to Sin.
2 big kills as well. King.
Oh, might not be done yet. King actually gets hooked by Rogue. A beautiful hook. A double kill, actually, for Juice.
Yeah, now Squiggle's turned up. So the 5-man ARAM that Sin's decided at 9 minutes they want to have is working out for them. Still no tally to be seen, though he has teleport. And the defense of this from Carbon, it's going to be possible still, because all Sin are getting, whilst it's working, is kills. This guy is still going to be huge.
And keeping the wave exactly where he wants it. Tally is getting further and further ahead of his opposition.
No.
Remember, Squiggle didn't actually get anything out of that.
So this actually works out really well for Legacy. They're just going to put Tally top now. Still has his teleport, just got an item spike. There's another freeze, believe it or not. And then Jin comes down bottom to collect some farm. He's the issue actually here. King has no CS. Raps is still getting his. This is a very awkward game.
It's interesting to say the least. Looks like they're putting all their eggs in one basket here, and it's going to be Jax. It is Tally.
But I mean, of all people and of all champions to do that with, this does make the most sense. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to execute on this against a Ryze, Ashe, Nautilus who can lock you down. It's going to be very delicate. But Sin still really just like ARAMs.
They're really going to be putting Tally's skill to the test tonight. Show how well he can play this Jax. Jubes actually wants to fight Carbon. Does have the backup of Rye. Forces a quick draw away. And once again, Sin have their sights set on this mid-town. They get it.
Ashe Arrow's on
level
Carbon.
5. Ashe Arrow comes down. The hook is landed. A nice kill over to Rye.
And this is great from Sin. They're still going, honestly. They look towards this second turret. A hook will hit. A second hook will follow. Jin overstayed his welcome in the bottom lane.
Well, Squiggle is level 6 now, so has the depth charge available. The hook
That's
coming
one.
down onto Choose. There's the depth charge. There is the execute. Right, picks himself up another one. Now Kuden is the next to fall. All that's left is Tally to defend the tower solo style.
And there's no way he can defend this solo. King may be back, but that's 2 fragile members. Sin have just exploded onto Summoner's Rift at 11 minutes, and they are just destroying Legacy through strategy alone.
It is impressive to say the least. Rogue's Thresh is a bannable offense. The hooks that this guy hits, there is nowhere safe for you. You're standing under tower, hook after hook. Secures Sin a 3,500 gold lead, 6 kills to 0.
So they've all recalled. In terms of timing, this actually means a second Infernal Drake will go over to Legacy. I don't think this will be contested before they get here. That's 16% increased AP and AD. So Legacy still have their sights set on their win conditions. They have not strayed from their path. But Sin have actually put themselves ahead in gold. They've got the structures. They've got a lot of kills onto this Ryze, who is super far ahead of the Swain. And at any point they choose now, they can go into a 1-3-1. As long as someone doesn't die to Jax, they're winning this game.
Yeah, Tally currently up 50 CS to Squiggle, but he's playing Nautilus, and Nautilus doesn't really strike me as a champion who it's that important to funnel a lot of your gold into.
Yeah. He's always going to be Nautilus,
Yeah.
right? Just press your R key, hit your hook, and everything's okay. And they've got Rhymeister on the rise to snowball. They've got Raps to lock people down. And even Juves has a fair bit of damage now, 204 on this Nidalee. Sin are winning through strategy alone, honestly. They just decided that they're actually on Howling Abyss. And it's working for them.
Definitely seems like it, just constantly Mid lane focus here. A lot of the kills actually going over to Rhymeister as well, so that's got to be feeling good. He's got his Rod of Ages stacking now. Picked up that Rift Herald buff, as well as the tier, so Rise definitely being accelerated here.
Yeah, and Legacy's tendency towards not even grouping up is actually being their undoing at the moment. You see 2 or 3 people at mid lane at any one moment, not actually matching Sin, trying to keep freezes in the side lanes, and this is how you beat those freezes. You group. You kill people with the Ashe Arrow. And Ashe is the biggest issue that they're actually up against right now.
The desk said that Legacy win through just winning all 3 lanes, but what happens when there's only 1 lane and Sin stack all 5 of their members mid lane?
Exactly.
You're seeing it right now. Tally still doing a great job of controlling the side lanes, just getting himself well and truly online. Finish the Trinity Force. Let's see if his build is a little bit similar, of course, to what we saw Paradise doing last game.
He's no longer freezing the waves.
No.
He's pushing at all moments. He's now a big Jax. He needs to be a pressure point. Otherwise, the side of Sin will actually just continue doing what they are right now. And that is be mid, hit an Ashe Arrow, follow it up with hooks. Or hit a hook, follow it up with an Ashe Arrow. They have viable options and strategy as a team.
Rogue now hitting level 6, does have the box available. Rhymeister in the top, Tally in the bottom. Looks like we are just seeing a mirror image of these 2 guys.
Best case
pushing
scenario for Legacy right now is that they don't die and they can hold this turret. If they don't die and hold this turret, Jax will destroy Sin's side of the map. But this is only 4 people, and this is risky wave clear because they're low-range champions.
It's a race against time for Sin right now. The arrow does hit onto King, but a little bit premature here as no one from Sin was in position.
Super premature. There was nothing to follow it up. There was no minions even to help defend. Jin, by the way, is doing this to wave clear. And he's not going to get it.
No, just trying to defend what he can, but there comes the flash. Carbon gets hooked, gets hit by the death sentence. He goes down. Rogue picks that one up, and rightly so, doing a great job. No kills coming across for Legacy just yet. They do get the tower in the bot lane.
Yeah,
Tally's
so
still going.
Tally is going to keep going. If Legacy stop recalls, this is still good for Legacy. They're trying to match and trade everything, and that makes a lot of sense. That turret going down was an expectation of Legacy in the top lane. And so going 1 for 1 in turrets is fantastic, but Carbon dying as well as using his flash is not. And that is exactly where Sin are putting themselves further and further ahead throughout this game with.
The name of the game seems to be ignore Tallywhacker, go for the rest of Legacy crew right now. And Legacy really struggling to survive the onslaught that's coming up, even without the Ashe Arrow. They still fall to Rogue's beautiful flash hook.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Legacy is still playing their strategy. I don't think they're actually veering from that whatsoever. They just want to scale. They want to have that Jax be large. They want to get a team fight. But the Ashe has had a big impact on this game. Haven't really seen the same thing from the Jin. The Soraka is just destined to die perpetually at the moment because that Thresh has been hitting the hooks. They are actually a one-man wrecking crew. And that one man is not able to team fight against the strength that is the Sin comp.
He's just going to get locked up should he get
it's a third Infernal. Oh, this is so hype.
Sin have to contest this one. Legacy get the third one. It's could be entirely possible for Tally to just become too much to deal with.
Yeah, so Legacy, with 1 minute and 30 seconds, the scuttle's taken from them. And that's okay, because it'll die reasonably quickly. But this comes down to the one big moment. If they choose that they commit to this, do they get it? Does the Ashe Arrow actually kick it off as well? Because I think fighting near this Dragon Pit actually favors Sin.
Raps throwing that one out. It is now on cooldown. Nice pink ward spots out a few lane wards for Legacy.
They're now confined to their base. That means the Drake should be Sin's if they can continue this control. Legacy's engage is genuinely lacking. Nice hook.
Another hook onto Carbon. He gets caught. He gets deleted. But do they have the damage to turn it around? Choose now in the firing line, forced to walk back. And Squiggle actually up in that top lane is going to be contesting the Jax. Well, can Sin do anything with this? They can get themselves the Infernal Drake by the look of it.
Our Lord and Savior Rogue does not miss hooks. Hits another one onto Carbon, who again takes the hook. Now 0 and 3 on this Graves. And Sin, they're playing and executing on Summoner's Rift beautifully right now. This is the old style of Sin gaming that we expected this split.
Look at Rai. He's positioned quite aggressively here around the blue buff. Maybe fancies his chances at taking down King, but little does he know. Kuden waiting in the wings. ensure that the Jin is safe.
So Carbon is up and available, and the Drake is there. If they can get Tally into a team fight, he will kill anybody in front of him. Maybe not as a 5-man unit. Even this. Toad's about to hit him, to be fair. Yeah, he walks away.
Ignoring it for as long as he can, but the counter-strike does pull the aggro. Juice and Riot get themselves the first Infernal Dragon, so Legacy going to have to be content with 2 for the time being.
And that's still a very big Drake game we're seeing right now. This is a problem.
Yeah, Squiggle might just die here, forced to use the ulti defensively, but now he can't stay under this tower unless someone comes to help him. Tally doesn't have vision, so does retreat for now.
It's a matter of the next wave for Tally. If he wanted to stay and commit, he knew he was running a risk. Ash had the arrow again. They had the ability to rotate, and they were not in vision. So even though they weren't rotating, Tally didn't know that. He's still a big Jax. Legacy, they don't fall too far behind. 4K is a substantial number, but it's not the game-ending number. And Sin need to actually try and translate this into further gold and more control on this map. 1 pick every time is not enough.
So they need to be able to follow it up with a little bit more. Both times the picks did come through. Remember, the Ashe ult wasn't available. So maybe next time wait for Rogue to hit the hook, get the kill, follow it up with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and go from there.
They want Tally. They have just watched him walk through about 78 wards. They even saw the 1 ward that he placed and pinked it. Sin are trying to keep him down. Every lane that he goes to is now unsafe, but by him going bottom, they've recognized that the Drake's gone. The Baron is the primary point of focus if you look for an epic monster to take post-teamfight victory. And they put Tally as far away as possible from it as the Jin's just pressed R.
Yeah, doesn't even break through the shield, actually. So Rymeister, very tanky when he has that available.
Yeah, it was about catching them out of position there, I believe.
Of course.
Ultimate, but...
Yeah, 70% slow, actually.
75, yeah, it's pretty absurd. Doesn't get anything. Legacy still not receding. They're still trying to make things happen.
As we can see, Raps has built that Essence Reaver to ensure he has enough cooldown to spam those arrows should he see fit. Good push in the bot lane. And once again, we see where's Tally? He's top.
Exactly. He's on the opposite side of the map. Sin playing the game of upside down. This turret's going to get chunked out.
Hook goes a little bit through. Nether move not available. King takes a chunk of damage, but thankfully for him, Soraka is his support this game, so she'll just transfer her health over.
Best case scenario for Legacy is that this wave is cleared and no one dies and the turret's traded again because Tally's still going on the top side of the map. Sin looked to engage when taking this turret, or it's simply traded.
Once again, it's traded. Seems to be Sin just grouping as 5 while Tally the one-man army tonight.
And no one's addressing him yet, so he can keep going. Of course, they will start their recalls now. If Tally's ever caught out of position, they could just straight up do Baron. So they need to show respect to that Ashe arrow that's now available and the burst that Rymeister can follow it with.
Uses the teleport, so that means that Sin only have Squiggles remaining while Tally and Juice both have theirs off cooldown. Legacy making their way down to this mid lane. Juice narrowly
this is dangerous
his
for
way
Legacy.
in there.
The engage is entirely there for Sin if they find it, and they don't.
Nice quick draw by Carbon to keep him safe, but now that means he's got nowhere to go as here comes Sin. Rogue actually the first to fall, and there is Tally. He's in the fight. He's looking to get some blood on his axe. There's the ultimate coming through from the Jin. Got his sights set onto Juice, but forces a retreat from Sin Gaming.
Yeah, so Sin is still looking aggressive with Rymeister there. I don't know if they'll actually get anything further from this. The Jax didn't have a big teamfight presence. That was not a surprise. And Legacy, they get themselves a kill, so they're on the board as Carbon locks that one down. Still making good map movements, Legacy. They've been able to hold off that onslaught that Sin have been pushing at them with.
Yep. Poor Rogue, not as tanky as he thought, but taken down in an instant. No one from Sin being able to capitalize on the CC being laid down on Carbon. And this is what I feared. They would get to the stage where they just don't have enough damage to kill anyone that they picked. Could potentially be their undoing.
I don't know about not enough damage.
Sure.
They just need Rymeister doing the damage.
Makes a lot of sense
A
here.
bit distracted, a little bit far away. It was a Nautilus that actually flash engaged, and remember it was on top of a silent field that Kuden placed and diffused a lot of their damage, so well done to Kuden.
Not to mention the exhaust just coming down immediately the second that Rhymemeister looks a tad bit threatening.
There's also a lot of magic resistance now being stacked on the side of Legacy. 3 Hex Drinkers.
Very smart. As they make their way in, Sin just getting down those deep wards. The Baron is well and truly a possibility to be baited here.
Also, again, props to Kuden, going for the Mikhail's Crucible as his first item of choice. Doesn't have it yet. As Carbon, the unsuspecting victim, walks.
Oh, here comes Rhymemeister. He's got his sets on the Carbon. The arrow isn't going to land. It's not done yet. As He's looking to go for this one. Gets snared up by King. Forced to back off. Meanwhile, Tally in the bot lane again.
Yeah, and the arrow's not connecting, so they force the recall out of Squiggle. Tally's on the right side of the map for the Baron focus. And Legacy, once they see the Nautilus, might look for something. They do it too early, though. And they could get caught again.
So they've caught Carbon once again. Can he survive this time, though? Here comes the curtain call.
That's one.
Only onto Juves. Not going to do a lot of damage on these full health targets.
He is doing no damage right now, King. No. This is a mid-game Jhin build that is so behind that he has not even hit mid-game, and we're closer to late game. Not great for King, not great for Legacy to see that, but once again, the Jax is there.
Oh, Squiggle, he may be in trouble now, forced to anchor his way to safety.
That man is 3 levels ahead.
Coming down, depth charge being used, gets snared up, Rhymemeister coming in, gets the snare, does the counter-strike go off Squiggle. He may die, he's able to walk out alive, and Rhymemeister, by the skin of his teeth, saves Squiggle.
Rhymemeister no teleport means that Legacy are now trying something cute instead of doing the Baron.
Shot.
And exactly gets entirely defused. Now Sin have the inside track towards this middle lane. They've got the numbers advantage because King's decided he wanted to walk top instead of just recalling. And now Sin threatened the base of Legacy because Tally is dead.
Oh, there's the hook onto Choose, gets hit by the box. Teleport coming through from Squiggle, perfectly placed anchor. Unfortunately, Juves does go down. Carbon now in full retreat. Another hook by Rogue, a double kill for Squiggle.
And what a Legacy thinking without King there. Either the Jhin walks with you, which is King's mistake, or Legacy backs away, which is entirely the team's mistake. This will be the inhibitor, maybe, as the Jax is up.
Tally is alive, but remember, Rhymemeister can just keep him at bay. We saw that happen in the previous fight. Squiggle, it was looking grim, but all of a sudden, Lord and Savior Rai comes down and saves his life.
Yeah, and there's an Ocean Drake available. I don't know if they'll look towards that one just yet. There are still side wave control issues for Sin. As Squiggle trying to deal with Tally is a problem at the moment. And once he gets those, he has armor. Like, he's not dying immediately, but he's so far behind in levels that it's rough.
You can't get much more direct armor than the Frozen Heart here, so... Does that decrease Jin's attack damage?
Well, if it decreases attack speed,
yeah,
it does by a bit. It's probably negligible.
Cool. As we see, Tally and Carbon and Kuden actually going to be taking this Ocean Drake. No troubles here, so 3 dragons in favor of Legacy, but pings are going down onto the Baron. Tally has a teleport available. It was warded. Looks like it will just be a bait. The arrow onto Carbon once again. He gets caught out, but here comes Rai popping the ulti. Look how fast that Rai's moved. Got his sight set onto Kuden. He goes pop. The heal coming through. Is it enough? No! Juves comes in, takes him down. Choose now in the firing line. He's tanky, but not that tanky as Sin. Getting out of control here, Rusty. 7,000 gold in the lead.
3 people dead, and at 27 minutes into this game, it looks like Sin are postured towards finishing.
He's not even doing damage.
It's Tally and King against the world, and King is hitting them with feathers. Tally's too squishy to stop this.
Well, Tally, he just can't do anything about it. The first Nexus Tower falls. The second gonna drop, and Sin out of nowhere looking to make an upset here, get the first win of the match. Carbon gets hooked once again, but it's not gonna matter. The Nexus Tower falls, and wow, Rusty. Sin played that to perfection.
They get a 27-minute victory over Legacy,
Insane.
who looked like in their series against the Chiefs were able to keep up in macro play. It felt like it was just Tally against every single member of that team. the 4-man unit of Legacy just did not feel the same to what we're used to.
They just really couldn't cut it. But Sin, they saw the opportunity. They knew exactly how they were meant to win, and they did just that, pushing straight down the mid lane, kill after kill, tower out after tower.
Yeah, no, it was a really good play from Sin. They won through one lane, not three. They literally won through one lane. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, they started in the mid lane, finished in the mid lane, but we're going to send it back to the caster desk to tell us what went wrong in Legacy Camp.
Thanks so much, Rogi. And, I actually think it wasn't a hell of a lot going wrong. There was a lot of things going right on the other side of the fence where Sin, they didn't pick 1-3-1. They picked a huge pick comp. There was just so much layered CC that if they got their claws into anyone, they die. Like, straight away. You just don't walk away from that.
Yeah, and you could see it, anytime they just 5-man grouped mid, there was someone dying straight away. If you get hit by one thing, you're dead.
If there was one thing that, literally surprised me, was the fact that they went for that one, that. It wasn't even one. It was literally the opposite of a 1-3-1 comp. That was the ARAM comp. Sin pulled out the literally sit in mid and just throw things at people.
And it was so cool because you know that when you have a look at how Legacy want to play the game, it is deep freezing for Tally. They do it all the time off the back of lane swaps. Chiefs have very much struggled to, find a method for this without picking assassins in the mid lane. But these Ash arrows, the layering of CC with the Nautilus, with the Thresh, Rogue and Squiggle, they're on fire with the CC.
Yeah, they weren't even hitting the arrows early. Raps was throwing them off and they were, a little bit off. But, it was basically the hooks into more hooks, and it was pretty filthy, to be honest.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I think that if anything can really tell the tale of this game, it is going to be when we have a look at the junglers' head-to-head scores. Juve's not really known to be a mechanical god. He was playing Nidalee, not Rek'Sai. He's 4-1-8. He has about 80% kill participation in the game. Carbon, he has a couple of kills. Sure, that's all his team had, but he wasn't able to get it done earlier, and that's where we expect Carbon to really come through.
Yep, and so pretty much they, exactly, the Nidalee pick was able to pretty much outpace, and not only just outpace the Graves, but just literally be as proactive as possible. And that's what I was kind of worried about Legacy, is that Legacy, even in the game against their games against the Chiefs, they were not proactive, right? Their problem was that they were always constantly looking to be reactive. They weren't even looking for it. That's the problem. So Sin were always a step ahead of them, and that's just something they need to work on.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of touched on it before the game, is that if Legacy are playing reactive, Sin can use that to their advantage, and they definitely did, because you saw Legacy, they just wanted to put Jax in the side lane, get a deep freeze, and Sin were like, if you're going to do that, we're just going to run it down mid and get pick after pick.
Yeah, and we talked about Rai. He's the one that has to get ahead in this comp, and he just felt like he had Juves in his back pocket the whole game long, and that means that Sin are going to pick up the game 1 victory. Don't go anywhere, guys. In 3.5 minutes, we're going to come back and maybe crown a new OPL Legend title holder, or maybe Legacy will hit back. We'll see you then.